Cool. Hi everybody, so we're going to go through the list of the kit that we're handing out for equipment and just kind of go through each one of the parts and pieces. It's mostly things that you've already seen in class, so it shouldn't be anything too kind of foreign or anything along those lines, but wanted to make sure that you had everything kind of heading at home. If I'm sending some of these things home and you already have them at your home, sorry, I guess you get duplicates for a while, but we'll talk about each one of the pieces and then how we're going to store them at home too, and make sure that we're bringing them back into the classroom as well. So everything's going to come in a bus tub, one of these big guys, and I think this is great not only for us giving it to you, but also for storage when you're at home. So the way I would do this is, I know this is big and obnoxious, but it's also nice because then you know where everything's going all at one time, right? So as you finish with one of your tools, you can go ahead and put them right back in, wash them up obviously, but go ahead and put them right back in your in the bus tub. That way you don't lose them, misplace them, or anything along those lines, because we really do want to try to get everything back just like we sent it out. So a couple of sheet pans, half sheet pans. These will fit in your oven at home, nothing crazy. One of these black plastic trays that we know that is really nice because they're so flat. So they're great for building the entremets or the charlottes. They're just great to have around just for general use. I love them. When I was in restaurants, I always had fiberglass trays or plastic trays. They're different than metal because they don't bend, right? So they always remain flat. If they ever do bend, then they just break completely. So you're left with a pretty, really nice flat product. So some of the other products that we're going to have in the kit, we have the black Exo pan. Remember, this is the one that has, you probably can't see it too well on the camera, but it's kind of has a lace effect on it, has a fiberglass webbing. We like this a lot for pot au choux. We like this a lot for breads, although we're not doing them, but it works really well for short doughs, for crusts and things like that. It allows browning. It also, if you have a short dough or something along those lines and you roll it thin and you cut it, when you place it on the Exo pat, it won't move around on you. Whereas with the Sil pats, which are great on their own too, things will move around a little bit, right? So this is the Sil pat, this is the solid one. So the difference being this one has the holes in it, this one doesn't, and the holes will hold things in place. However, with this, this is great for if you're doing like ribbon sponge or decoy, like we made for the pistachio tart, that really thin meringue cake. Even the chocolate almond cake, this will peel right off after the cake is cooled, even easier than parchment. And speaking of parchment, nothing can really, there's two of these in your kit, by the way. Parchment, nothing really takes its place. No, I don't expect to get this one back. You can go ahead and just dispose of it as you use it. If we need more along the way, we can make sure that we get that into your kits, your food kits as well. But I think, I didn't count the sheets of parchment. There's probably a dozen or so here. You're going to need to cut them in half, and that will be what you can use there. I do have a roll of these are disposable piping bags. So for home, and I know I always kind of joke about it, but at home you can wash these out and reuse them. I have 4 in each one of the kits. Probably is not going to be enough to get us all the way through class, and I will end up handing out some more, but you can wash these at home and you can reuse them. Now if they're super gross and you can feel like oils and they just won't come off, just go ahead and throw them out. Send me an email or give me a hey chef kind of heads up, and then next week we'll make sure that we get you some more disposable piping bags. But I don't want these back either. Those are either to be disposed of or used up entirely. Kind of along the disposable lines, there are 3 sheets of acetate. This is the soft acetate that we'll use for like the bottom of ring molds, things along those lines, to make sure that things are really, really flat. And you can use them for a myriad of other reasons, but just to kind of hand these out. So there's 3 of them. I think they can all be cut in half, so you'll end up with 6 half sheets, because it seems like everything that we're doing is in half sheet sizes, so we will have that. I'm going to set these aside just for a second. There are some piping tips that you guys are getting. Everybody's getting a brand new box of the plain tips. I didn't even sort them. They're still in their plastic and everything. So these were ones that we ordered. This is a whole set of plain tips. As far as the star tips go, there's only 3 that I sent home. There's a large one. You're either going to get an 869 or an 868 is the numbers on there, and then they go down to 863 or 862 with an 865 or 866 in the middle. What does that, all those numbers mean? You get a really big star tip, you get a medium-sized star tip, and you get a smaller-sized star tip, right? So the big-sized star tips are great for piping out pot au choux. If we're going to do eclairs, which we are going to do them next week, we're going to do some fancy fun ones. molds. So that's really nice for that. As far as the 2 smaller ones, those are great for obviously decorating and things along those lines. And these are I think they're 12 stars if I remember points. The ones that we had in the drawer kind of all along that are really wonderful. So those 2 are going to go in. One of the circle ring molds that we have, I'm just including that in the kit. So one problem that we have is we're going to do laminated desserts probably in 2 weeks. And usually that's built into a rectangle shape. The rectangle shapes that we only have like 6 of those large molds. So we're going to build ours into a circle shape, which will act just the same, but when we cut it, we won't be able to get perfect rectangles, although you could trim it into a square, I guess, after it's all built. But remember, it's kind of like the Legos thing. Remember the Lego, how we have the cake at the bottom and then really thin layers all the way up. We're going to build that, but this time it's going to end up being that circle shape. So most likely you're going to get wedges or triangles, which can look really elegant. But we'll talk about that too when we do when I do the demo tape for that week. So we'll kind of revisit that. But we'll do circles instead of rectangles. Long story short. I'm sending 2 of these home. I don't know if you have them. If you're like me at home, you have whisks, but they're not as awesome as the whisks that we have here. So just a fine wire whisk, pretty much good for everything. Small rubber spatula. Again, maybe you have rubber spatulas at home and that's just an extra, but just make sure they do come back. All right, so we're going to get into molds, and this is the big part and obviously the expensive part of everything. We have 6 different molds that I'm sending home. I don't know that we're going to use every single one of these molds. And like I did say, if there's a situation where, you know, we're molding and we're using the samurai mold, that's the white one here. That's the name of the mold itself. Don't ask me why. It's just a cool name. But if you're, you know, we're using this one, and you're like, I don't want to use that one. I want to use the dome mold because I really like that shape. Personally, I love the dome mold shape. It's simple. It's elegant. It's never going to go out of style, right? I mean, it's a half a sphere. But if you wanted to use that and say you wanted to use the small molds for like the insert on the inside, you can go ahead and do that. So I'm going to send all of these home. If you want to play a little bit, that's one of the nice parts about doing all this at home is you do have a little bit more freedom than here where everything's kind of really rigid. So let's just go through the molds super quick. We have the small demisphere molds. These are the small, just kind of partial spheres, and if you remember, they kind of go hand in hand with the large spheres, so that you could freeze, you know, an insert inside of this, and then just like we did with the panna cotta this week, you can put that insert on the inside, and then you can build that same sphere. So you guys have a little bit of experience with these already, and that was the ones. These are the ones that we used for the sour cherry, chocolate, and the yogurt panna cotta on the inside. So there's those. We have the, I don't know, I call them donut molds. Technically, they're called the Savarin mold. And I kept all of this stuff on a list, too, so that we can have a checklist when you bring it all back. This is the Savarin mold, or the donut mold. Kind of cool to fill up with mousses. You can also bake tart shells in them as well. And they have that little kind of divot in the center there so that you could put, you know, a pastry cream, and then you could build like a fruit around it. If you remember when we did the sablé bretons and we baked them in the hockey puck mold, that's the nickname now, we had those little discs. You could do the same thing here. It would just leave you a larger divot in the middle, and then you can make your little tarts from that standpoint, right? So really another, I don't know, this one's a fun mold. If you do use it, I don't know, just remember to have fun with it. It's kind of cool. The samurai mold, this was the one that we just got for class. We haven't even used these yet. So again, it works a lot like any of the other molds. Remember, with these especially, you need a good deep freeze, really on all these molds, especially for home freezers. I'm going to absolutely recommend an overnight job, right? So you need to look at your mise en place and say, okay, hey, I need, you know, to freeze my insert in my small demisphere mold so I can use it for the next day. Get that done on day one. You have a lot of time now that you're at home, so you can do this all the way throughout the end of the week, probably even into the weekend if you needed to take that long. And really all we're going to do is submit pictures of your progress, and we'll do that all on Canvas. But give yourself time. Take a look at that. Take a look at your sheets, especially if you're doing a lot of frozen mousses and molds. You're going to need that time in that freezer at home, because your freezer at home, I'm going to guess, probably goes down to, you know, 10 degrees, between 10 and 0, which is good, but you need an overnight freeze to do that. It's not like having a, you know, $50,000 blast chiller behind you that you can just kind of open up and use right away. It doesn't really work that way, right? So you need a good overnight freeze on all of these, and I would recommend Nothing ever short of 8 hours at home, ever short of 8 hours, and really an overnight's the way to go. You get all the gelatin gets super hard, all the fats in the cream and everything are going to solidify really hard, and all the water's going to freeze really well too. So again, I'm going to stress that one a couple times. So there's your samurai mold. This one is an oval mold, we're going to call it. It has a little bit of an indentation, kind of like the donut mold does as well. And these would be really fun for a myriad of things. I personally will fill them with a mousse and then pop them out, and then on the top of them I actually would put like a gelée in there, or like a sauce or something along those lines, and it kind of presents so way when you cut into it you get your mousse, but there's a little bit of saucy top as well. So these are going to go in the kit. And then the last ones, you guys know how much I love plain shapes, so this is that hockey puck mold that's good for everything in the world. So there's the overall kit. I think that's everything I'm going to put in there for now. You know what I am going to add in here, and that's not on the video, I'm going to add some offset spatulas too, because I don't think you have those in your kits, and I don't know if you'll have them at home. So I'll do one small offset spatula and one medium-sized offset spatula as well in each of the kits. And yeah, we should be good to go, and we should have some fun. So look for recipes coming up. Ideally this is Wednesday and the third week of the semester now. I don't even know the date anymore. It's Wednesday. Ideally, recipes will be up by tomorrow on Thursday. We're going to start off with pot au choux this week. I'm going to do demos myself and upload the videos onto Canvas myself. I probably will use some outside videos too, just to kind of highlight some things, because there's some really well done pastry videos out there, especially on YouTube. But I think it's really important that we keep in contact as teachers and students too. So thanks everybody. See you soon.